Good evening and welcome to From Where We Are, stories of news and culture through the lens of USC and Southern California. I'm Ethan Huang.
And I'm Taylor Mills. We're coming to you live from Studio B in USC's Annenberg Media Center. It's Thursday, November 17th, 2022.
On today's show, Nancy Pelosi steps down as the leader of the Democratic caucus.
Now we must move boldly into the future, grounded by the principles that have propelled us this far and open to fresh possibilities for the future.
Iranian students speak out about USC's response to the protests in Iran.
A lot of this movement is driven by Iranians, and it's hard to keep a movement alive when it's eating you up inside.
And as the big day of the Crosstown football game approaches, we take a look at the school rivalry that extends even into their newsrooms.
I'm not sure if I'd call it much of a rivalry, sort of hammer and nail.
All that and more from Where We Are, after these news headlines.
From Annenberg Media, I'm Issa Johnson. After 2 decades of serving as Speaker of the House for the Democratic Party, Nancy Pelosi announced this morning that she will step down as the GOP claims the House majority following the recent midterm election.
For me, the hour's come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect.
Pelosi will remain a member of Congress in California's 12th District, representing San Francisco. Almost 8 years later, 3 Moscow extremists have been convicted of organizing the strike on a Malaysian jet over Ukraine, killing all 298 people on board. A Buk missile system from a Russian military base brought down the Boeing 777 on July 14, 2014. College campuses will continue to facilitate race-based discussions as a Florida judge blocks a law proposed by Governor Ron DeSantis that would have restricted these conversations and analyses. The proposed law would prohibit teaching that, quote, contends members of one ethnic group are inherently racist, end quote. And for the first time ever, Los Angeles will have a female mayor, Karen Bass. The city took nearly 9 days to call the race against opponent and businessman Rick Caruso. Those are some of the top headlines in the news.
Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, is stepping down from party leadership in Congress after nearly 20 years. Pelosi was the first ever woman to be the Speaker of the House and will leave the Democrats with some big shoes to fill in leadership. Stefano Fenrich has the story.
Standing before members of Congress this morning, Nancy Pelosi announced that she is stepping away from any Democratic leadership in Congress moving forward.
For me, the hour's come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect.
Pelosi, who was Speaker of the House from 2007 to 2011, and once again from 2019 until now, will remain serving in the House. Her announcement comes after the Republicans regained a majority in the House.
While we will have our disagreements on policy, we must remain fully committed to our shared fundamental mission, to hold strong to our most treasured democratic ideals, to cherish the spark of divinity in each and every one of us, and to always put our country first.
Shortly after Pelosi's announcement, both Democratic Majority Whip Jim Clyburn and Majority Leader Steny Hoyer also resigned from their positions, paving the way for a trio of new Democratic Party leadership in the House for the first time in 20 years. While Pelosi hasn't endorsed anyone to succeed her yet, Representative Hakeem Jeffries has emerged as the favorite to serve as the new Democratic leader, and he could run unopposed. If elected, he would be the first black person to lead a party in Congress. In her speech, Pelosi looks towards what is to come for the party.
Now we must move boldly into the future, grounded by the principles that have propelled us this far and open to fresh possibilities for the future.
Pelosi has been an image of power in Washington, and as Speaker has led Democrats during pivotal moments such as the impeachment trials of Donald Trump and helping to pass the Affordable Care Act. She has been a prominent part of the Democratic Party for nearly 3.5 decades.
My friends, no matter what title you all, my colleagues, have bestowed upon me, Speaker, Leader, Whip, there is no greater official honor for me than to stand on this floor and to speak for the people of San Francisco.
Pelosi will continue to represent them when the new Congress meets in January. For Annenberg Media, I'm Stefano Fenrich.
Pelosi has been a political figure for decades, a leader of the Democratic Party while our own generation came of age. Now there are new women leaders in the Democratic Party, particularly one who was just elected here in Los Angeles. Last night, the Los Angeles mayoral race finally came to a close. Karen Bass has officially been announced as the new mayor of Los Angeles, beating her Democratic opponent, businessman Rick Caruso. Here's what the USC community thinks about the results of this hotly contested race.
Karen Bass stepped out this morning to give her first speech as mayor of Los Angeles after AP called the race. She was greeted by a crowd of enthusiastic supporters.
Now, no matter who you voted for, no matter who you are or where you live, I will be a mayor for you.
USC students expressed their relief in finally knowing who the next mayor of LA will be, and many Bass supporters talked about their desires to see her policies at work. They also expressed the importance to see more representation in office. Bass will be LA's first female mayor and only the second black mayor in the city's history. Hannah Abol-Haj, a junior studying communications, said Bass's role in office can serve as an inspiration for younger girls in the city. She thinks Bass will be able to offer a fresh perspective for the city.
I think it's really important for a minority to be elected into the role, as a woman. It's very inspiring to see another woman hold a position of power, especially in such a large city.
Sasha Hussein, a junior majoring in health and human sciences, is part of the Trojan Democrats, which worked with the Bass campaign during the mayoral race. Although she's happy Bass won the election, she says their work is not done.
I think moving forward, we want to hold her accountable to her promises. And so there's a lot of promises that made us want to endorse her, like her homelessness and on her opinions on policing. So we want to hold her accountable and make sure that she follows what her plans.
Hussein talked about Bass's political experience as an appealing factor for both her and other supporters compared to Caruso's Republican history.
I think a lot of those values that come with like women's rights and homelessness and policing and all of these issues that LA deals with is something that a lot of Democrats also favor on a more liberal and a liberal approach. So I think those values of like helping people in need is something that Democrats value, and that's why they chose Bass over Caruso.
Both Abol-Haj and Hussein talked about their excitement in voter turnout for this election, especially in the younger population. They believe the rise in political participation comes from wanting to have a say in their future.
If you're not happy with how things are being run, you should definitely use your vote. And
it's so exciting that young people came out because our voices are so impactful, and historically we don't vote as much as older people, and a lot of politics really impact us the most. And
the LA County Clerk's Office is expected to officially certify the mayoral race result on December 5th. For Annenberg Media, I'm Tony Fajardo.
Tattoo legends in Long Beach have come together to start a national tattoo art museum. Victoria Capek has the story.
Do you know about how many tattoos you have on your body?
All I know is I've been tattooed 175 times by 144 different individuals.
It beats my 11 times by a lot.
My name's Charlie Cartwright, and I'm a tattoo artist for 67 years now.
Most people know him as Good Time Charlie, a legend to the tattoo art community who started tattooing at age 15 out of the back of a Chevy sedan. His interest in tattoos sparked after he saw his first full body piece. It was of a jungle image on an old man standing at a bus stop late one night.
Oh my God, it was amazing, and I thought, I gotta figure out how you do that.
Now 82, Cartwright's white hair and beard call to mind Santa Claus, but his tattoos make him look like Santa who rides a Harley instead of a sleigh. He's made a life giving custom tattoos across the country, but found a home in California's tattoo art scene.
I'm here in Long Beach to support this Tattoo Heritage Project that will be the first national tattoo art museum. I hope will be a worldwide destination.
Cartwright founded the Tattoo Heritage Project in 2021. Already, there are 22 smaller museums connected to tattoo shops in 8 different states.
There are smaller representations trying to preserve it all, but we need something like the national place to go. And why not Long Beach? It's the portable Los Angeles, for God's sake.
It's also the home of a historic parlor.
My name is Carrie Barba, and I am the owner of Outer Limits Tattoo here in Long Beach, California, which is the oldest continually operating shop in the nation.
Formerly Burt Grimm's world-famous tattoo, the shop location at 22 South Chestnut Street first opened in 1927. Barba took over as shop owner in 2003, more than 20 years after she started tattooing at age 19.
At the beginning, I was like, how can people make a living doing tattoos? That was my first thought. I didn't know anything about tattooing.
But Barba was a fast learner. She paved the way for female tattoo artists during the 80s and 90s and has collected more than 500 industry awards throughout her career, earning the title Queen of Modern Tattooing. Barba is a prominent board member of the Tattoo Heritage Project, an honor to the artist after her long career.
When I got to talk to Charlie in person and I heard the stories and what we're looking to do, it's just like, this has to be done, for the history of this industry.
Barba and Cartwright remember a time when a tattoo museum would have never been supported in Long Beach. In the late 70s, the city demolished all but one tattoo shop, 22 South Chestnut, because it associated tattoos with gangs stirring up trouble in the area. But Whittier City Councilman Fernando Dutra says the days of hating tattoos are long gone.
This form of art is absolutely encouraged, it's accepted, and it's valued.
Dutra believes a tattoo museum will be great for tourism.
The city has been supportive about the idea of a museum, and they certainly see the benefit, how it could be an economic driver for downtown Long Beach because of the history.
That is going up at $300. That big throne.
In the past year, Tattoo Heritage Project has raised close to $90,000, but the startup still has a ways to go before it can build a museum. Until that happens, Cartwright plans to keep growing the tattoo art community. He hopes anyone who still has negative feelings about tattoos can open themselves up to the joy the art form has brought him for decades.
There's no substitute for the experience. So I think once you've had it, you're never gonna quit, because it really is addictive in a good way, though. Who cares if your whole teepee is painted,
If you need me, I'll be booking my next teepee painting appointment to try and catch up to Charlie. For Ampersand Radio, I'm Victoria Capek.
Amini died at the hands of the Iranian morality police. Amini's death sparked a movement in Iran calling for the awareness of human rights abuses occurring in the country. Although the issue has garnered global attention, many students here at USC have been personally affected. What is USC doing in support of its Persian students? Caitlin Doe has a story.
Chants and cries for freedom and women's rights can be heard from Tommy Trojan to USC Village as a group of USC students marched to raise awareness of the situation unfolding in Iran. A small group of student organizers wanted to bring Persian students on campus together and provide an outlet to voice their thoughts. One of those student organizers is senior Rana Aga Babazadeh. She says,
or the group of us wanted to have the protest, was to provide an opportunity and a space for our Iranian students to express how upset they are and how much they want to see change in Iran.
In Iran, violence has only been escalating as more protests are occurring. The Iranian regime has been violently cracking down on demonstrators. The university and President Carol Folt have issued statements in regard to the crisis. USC's Chief Inclusion and Diversity Officer, Christopher Manning, released a statement on behalf of the university. Part of it reads, quote, "As an international community that values freedom of expression and basic human rights, we mourn the tragic violence in Iran in the aftermath of the death of Mahsa Amini." The university ends the statement by highlighting already existing resources to support students who are affected by violence in Iran. However, some students want more from the university and are questioning why the administration hasn't done more.
There are students right now, USC students, with loved ones in Iran who are risking their lives every day and going out into the streets, getting arrested. USC students are not hearing from their loved ones. They get worried. So it's not just some foreign occurrence on another planet. It's very tied to USC students.
Students aren't just disappointed with the administration's response either. Another student organizer, sophomore Darian A., says the response from the Persian Student Organization, more commonly known as PSO, has been lacking as well.
Well, no one's talking about how no one on the Persian Executive Board was at the protest or how they're doing nothing on this. So, it's time to call people out. It's time to hold people accountable and move forward and move on.
As the situation in Iran continues, Persian students say the main way that their peers can support them is to bring continuous awareness to the protesters in Iran and the developments unfolding. For Annenberg Media, I'm Caitlin Doe.
USC's self-proclaimed second-best satirical news publication, The Sack of Troy, has run into trouble with their UCLA rival, the Westwood Enabler. While The Sack of Troy isn't normally serious, as Sylvan Barthel reports, they say that this conflict is no laughing matter.
Though the USC Trojans and UCLA Bruins will face off at the Rose Bowl this Saturday, Rivalry Week encompasses much more than football. Student organizations at the two schools engage in competition as well, and among them is USC's satirical newspaper, The Sack of Troy. Founded by a group of freshmen in 2012, The Sack of Troy has since blossomed into a beloved source of laughs and not-so-serious news for USC students. The Sack's Instagram has almost 5,000 followers. Among their most recent headlines are, study results reveal USC students' biggest fear is being asked their parents' salary, and DPS dresses up as cops for Halloween. This week, The Sack of Troy has been embattled with their crosstown counterpart, UCLA's Westwood Enabler. Joshua Wolk, the president of The Sack of Troy, talks about the rivalry.
I'm not sure if I'd call it much of a rivalry, sort of hammer and nail, but last year we had a bit of a back and forth last Conquest Week, and this time around they wanted to start it up again.
Despite the satirical nature of the two publications, the rivalry is no joke. Last year, the publications competed to see who could elicit more pictures of their readers' feet. This year, the Westwood Enabler made an interesting request.
Essentially, they wanted to have a competition to see who could get a larger amount of their student base to send pictures of them on the toilet and in the bathroom. It was really strange. We didn't want to do it, but they still put out promotions about it, and we just had to make a public announcement that we were not taking part in this and we wanted nothing to do with it.
Wolk and The Sack of Troy denounced the Westwood Enabler on their Instagram, saying they, quote, disavow this egregious request and henceforth reject any affiliation suggested by previous collaboration with the Westwood team, end quote. Wolk was worried The Sack of Troy's followers would not understand that the statement was serious and would just take it like any other post, a joke.
This time around, where we put out the serious remark, and people think we're still sort of just messing around with them, when in reality we're just trying to distance ourselves for once.
Jillian Smith, a writer for the Westwood Enabler, has a different story about how this collaboration came to be.
Both publications came up with that sort of together. The Enabler sent a lot of ideas, and the Sack of Troy chose one, and that's basically what we both went with.
Smith claims she was shocked that the Sack of Troy denounced the rivalry.
Then yesterday, I think it's turned into something a bit different because we started to publish, the rivalry contest, and we've been flooded with toilets in our DMs, which has been lovely. And then the Sack of Troy actually deleted the message saying that they wanted to participate in our DMs and pulled out last minute, I think, in a way to sort of one-up us.
As Conquest goes on, only time will tell if the Sack of Troy truly ends their collaboration with the Westwood Enabler, or if this was all part of a joke. For Annenberg Media, I'm Sullivan Barthel.
The official newspapers for each campus, the Daily Trojan and the Daily Bruin, are also set to continue their annual tradition, the Blood Bowl. We spoke with Anthony Garib, who is a current staff writer at the Daily Trojan, about the bowl game, along with the superstitions surrounding the game.
I feel like the whole newsroom kind of united. Like we're already very united. But I feel like everyone else just came together and we were all basically one team just going against the Daily Bruin. There's a saying where if you win the game, you win the Blood Bowl, your team actually loses the game. So last year we won the Blood Bowl and we lost the game. And then 2019, I think the Daily Bruin won. And then USC won the actual game. I don't know how long that dates, but from my time here, people have been telling me that. So it definitely was true last year. So we got to see what happens again tomorrow.
And that's all the time we have for on today's From Where We Are. Spencer Klein, Jeffrey Lee, Claire Fogarty, Deshalyn Satcher, and Lucian Wang produced today's show. I'm Ethan Huang.
And I'm Taylor Mills. From all of us here at Annenberg Radio, wherever you are, we hope you'll join us again for
From Where We Are.